Councilman Montoya.
Present.
Francina Martinez.
Present.
Mr. Alan Franken.
Present.
Jesus Baquera. Present.
And absent.
Ms. Dinah Minus.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. Francine.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the agenda. It's time for a motion.
Motion to approve as presented?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Approval of the agenda has been approved. Mr. Vaqueros, are you recording this or are we on YouTube?
Can you turn down the,
Okay.
so,
So your staff will do the minutes?
yeah.
Okay. Approval of the minutes of March 14th, 2022. It's time for a motion.
I make a motion of approval of the minutes.
Thank you. I hear a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none. Motion passes. Public input, do we have any, Mr. Vaquera?
No, we do not have any public input.
Good. Seeing none, we move up to the discussion items, and we'll go to A, Resolution 2117, Audit Financial Report. Mr. Vaquera.
Resolution 2217 is seeking approval from council to approve the audited financial report from the auditors. This was supposed to happen last Wednesday, but the auditors forgot they had to be here, so they're going to show up this Wednesday to present to the council and seek approval.
And did you guys receive a copy of the audit? Mr. Franken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the resolution, yeah.
The resolution, but not the
Not
audit
copy.
itself.
Oh, okay.
You guys didn't get a book? It was a PDF file.
She had sent it on
It was on a separate, I think it was on Friday or the day after she sent the packet.
So on this audit finding, Mr. Vaqueras, we had how many findings?
You didn't have very many of them.
6.
Yeah,
6.
That's a really good.
And in the packet, there was our response to the audit findings, because we have to report those to DFA and get approval from council. So the packet itself had the audit findings and the corrective action plan.
So on finding number 2, 2021-006, the city will develop a policy and procedures to ensure the approval happening in the, what's that, chronological order?
Chronological order?
Yeah. What procedures did you develop? Or has
That
it- or has it-
was, actually, we actually have approvals, it's just nobody follows them. That finding came from the Small Business CARES Act funding, where we gave businesses out in the community CARES monies to help out during the COVID.
Mhm.
But they actually got approved and got a check cut before POs were actually,
Yeah, we were giving out money without barely receiving it or before receiving it. But the thing is, is the city will develop policies and procedures or follow or abide by. Because if you're saying they're already developed but nobody's following it.
we got policies in procurement that says nothing, no services or no purchases can be done without a PO. So how these people managed to get a check without a PO back in the day,
Mhm.
it would be just we will enforce policies and procedures.
So they got checks?
Yeah, most of the community out there got $5,000 checks. I think that was the going rate.
From the city?
Yeah,
Yeah, the CARES funding that came to the city was what much,
$350,000
$350,000 or something like that for small business owners.
And people had to apply.
Yeah,
correct?
they had the
Yeah.
applications and
Yeah.
they got approved
They're
But-
giving out checks before we receive the money.
before we cut the POs or anything for them. And,
In other words, they didn't follow procedure on it.
Yeah.
That's when they found it out.
So they applied
yes,
and it came
Okay, so that should be
to
enforced
accounts
instead of.
payable? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying? It like came to accounts payable or how did it?
no, community development was this was all a community development deal.
Uh-huh.
They brought all the applications in, they sorted them, and they rated them, and they're the ones that decided who got what. From there, they put in a request to accounts payable for checks, but there was no POs. And they did I guess what I should say, they did like a direct pay based on their little
Yes.
list of who they approved, and they should have gone through purchasing to get a PO for all of those guys first.
Okay.
And then finding 1C, funding 2021-007.
That one was, they changed the scope of a purchase order, but again, they didn't modify the purchase order till after they had already done the work.
Was that at the airport?
Yes, I do believe it was.
And finding number 2021-002, HR department.
They found a couple of employees that did not have a filled out I-9. So, if I'm not mistaken, HR has done a 100% audit as far as all our employees having an I-9 or a PAF, which is a personal action form.
What about funding number 2021-003?
Last receipts on gas, Now we have a lost receipt affidavit, and we also have a gas log in each vehicle's glove box. So, I mean, if anything, you put your gas receipt in that log, and at the end of the day, you take it down and you put it in your file to submit.
But each employee has a fuel card or no?
Each
Or is it
vehicle. Each vehicle.
Okay.
So,
Do you reconcile those glove box fuel reports every month?
yes, with the monthly WEX,
Statement?
WEX statement that comes in.
So hard keeping up against.
Yeah, no, I know it's a lot of work, yeah.
And funding number 21-004.
That is a new, was it a resolution or was it just an ordinance that the council passed to take, now we have anybody that's a nonprofit that accepts money from the city has to have an expenditure accounting report submitted. I think it's quarterly. And we being the city has the right to go audit them and request their books. So, the animal shelter,
Any nonprofit.
yeah, all nonprofits that request and accept monies from the city have to sign on to this contract that they will have an EAR report, and the city has access to their financials.
That ordinance that Mayor and Council passed really defines all 501c organizations to be accountable and be transparent with the public and with the city as far as their fundings received by any grant that they receive, which was not really truly the case before. And the last one there, Mr. Vaqueras?
That is IT, and I was telling Francina that we are having trouble getting fire suppression equipment. Kenny has gotten quotes from 2 different vendors, but that's about it. After the quotes, they don't follow up, they don't call us, they don't give us any deadlines as to when that equipment is going to show up, when they can install it.
What was the price tag on the quotes?
I think it was less than 50,000, because the first time we did it, we were under the impression that it was going to be like 80,000. When we got the first quote, it was 48,000. So we were like, yeah, let's go with it. So they called the vendor, and the vendor said, yeah, we'll be there, and they never showed up. And we got another quote, and they gave us a quote, and they haven't talked to us yet as far as when they can get the equipment. I didn't think it was that much of a ordeal, because it's just a self-maintained, it's like a sprinkler system that's attached to looks like a little propane tank that's filled with fire suppression to dry chemicals.
Well, the last time I understood was like, and again, this has been happening for a lot of years. I mean, since ever I can remember. But, it started at 20,000. I don't know what the price went after that. But this is something that needs to be included in our next year's budget, so that we can get it done, so that this finding, we do away with this finding.
Well, it's included in this year's budget, it's just we can't get a vendor to
How much money was included in this last year's? bill?
50,000.
50,000.
Yeah, because we got, that 50,000 is for 2 server rooms,
Mhm.
this one here and the one at the police department.
So who does the rest of the municipalities?
I think our fire extinguishers and all of those are inspected.
No, this fire suppression system for the records. Who does it for other municipalities that we can't get it done?
I would have to research to find out.
Well, we're gonna have to fix that problem. And we're gonna have to get somebody to get it done.
I need an air conditioning unit for a better stop, and the best I can find is 36 weeks
Oh,
to get it. And I know industrial equipment like this, commercial equipment, I don't know what these people are doing. There's no excuse, they should have included that in their proposal and said, we can do this at such and such a time, and, you know, maybe they dropped the ball, but I'm saying the suppliers right now, it's,
that's what they're telling us, that they
Manufacturers
can't find the supplies.
Anything, computers, anything,
Mhm.
trying to get anything, you're like, you're right, Mr. Franken, it's like,
Stand in line.
ever since we first started, this has been a finding,
yep,
yeah. A year ago, a year and a few months ago, so.
Mhm.
yep, it's just crazy. And it's getting worse. COVID really made everything so fucking.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this audit finding?
Wasn't bad. Wasn't bad at all.
I'm glad you're not Highlands. Theirs was pretty bad.
They ended up with like, what, 17?
Oh, yeah, it was, I think there were several serious findings.
So I'll go ahead and stand for a motion to approve resolution 22-17, audit financial report.
So moved?
Commissioner
Second,
Consent. All signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, none. Next item, Mr. Vaquera, is letter B, which is resolution 22-18. City of Las Vegas in dire need of making a budget adjustment in the 21-22 fiscal year budget to include the revenues expenditures increase to Fund 213 State Library Fund grant in the amount of $17,828. The revenue and expenditure increase to Fund number 217 Special Legislative in the amount of $5,562. And what was that one for, Mr. Vaqueras?
This resolution was also presented to council last Wednesday, so this is just a matter of the finance rubber stamping it now. The 17,000 was ARPA funds that the Carnegie Library got, and the 5,000 was the senior center got that approval for a refrigerator.
The library was a grant?
It was ARPA funds,
Okay.
which they turned around and are in line to get computers. They ordered them, but like we just discussed, they're waiting for them to come in.
8, 9, 10 months.
Questions?
Nope.
I'll stand for a motion to approve Resolution 2218.
I go ahead and move as a retroactive
Yes.
recommendation to the previous council meeting. So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, no. Motion passes. On that note, Mr. Franken, we did have a discussion with Mayor and Council, and when our finance director, before Mayor and Council at the last council meeting, the mayor wants everything to go through the finance committee. And I explained that that's impossible, because we're having our meetings, we moved our meetings to the third Monday of the month, which is the Monday before the second city council meeting of the month. And that's the best we can do. Because if we move our meetings to the first Monday or the second Monday of the month, which is the first city council meeting, staff does not have enough time to reconcile. I mean, we'd be pushing it.
Our finance report would not,
We
Get
wouldn't
done.
have a finance report
yeah.
to approve. We won't allow staff enough time. So I don't know what it is that they don't understand, that's how come we have to do this. And that's how come we have to bring stuff that sometimes the council and mayor have already approved, and we're just stamping it. But mayor and council receive some stuff that hasn't been come through here, and they don't want it not coming through here.
Yeah.
So the only solution that I can think of, and I'm gonna ask mayor and council, because we will be having our organizational meeting, is that the only solution to this problem is that we move the council meetings to the third and fourth Wednesday of the month. And we keep our meetings the way we are right now,
On the
and
third
that
Monday.
gives us enough time for staff to reconcile and work on the budget and have it ready for our meeting and for the first and second city council meeting. Is that correct, Mr. Vaqueras?
Yes, sir, that would work.
That would work.
Yeah.
See, that's the only way that it thinks this would work. But I know,
Well, just my comments would be, this committee used to meet quarterly before we came on. We just decided to meet monthly because we wanted to learn more and be a little bit more involved. And I think that historically, this committee has only been just a communications committee. It didn't have any teeth. It doesn't have any real power, so, and I appreciate the mayor's, I think it comes from the mayor that wants the finance committee to be involved and have a prior knowledge of some of the city's actions, but
I understand that too. I mean,
either
that's
give us
why-
some teeth or just let it, just go with what we're doing now,
But, yeah, the thing is that any committee, any city committee, they're all recommended committees.
Yeah.
We're all recommended. We're just making recommendations to mayor and council. They decide.
Yeah.
Now your commissions and your boards, now they have teeth.
Okay, I got you.
They can make policy.
That's the difference,
They
yeah.
can, but committees, we're a recommendation committee. All committees are recommendations only. So to me, it's not that bad of a deal if we hit or miss here and there. But it does get confusing because, especially when mayor and council wants it being approved on every item that goes before them, comes through here. So But that's the only recommendation that I have, and if you guys want me to make that recommendation, I will. If not, we can stay the way it is and just let the mayor figure it out.
Historically, you guys have changed the meetings very rarely. Now, this last year is the first time you've done the two? Since
No, the city charter
2
was
years now?
always asked for 2 meetings a month.
Oh, it does. Are
Yeah,
they set in the
but-
charter, or can they be changed easily?
No, it's set on charter,
Is it?
yeah. The voters would have to change that. The thing is that mayor and council does have the choice of first, second, third, fourth.
Oh, that's not in the charter.
Yeah, that's
The
not
timing,
charter.
just
We get to choose the date and the time.
Yeah.
That could be on Fridays, it could be on Mondays, it could be whenever, the mayor and council decide. But as far as the 2 meetings per month, that's set in stone. So, is that a recommendation, or we leave it just the way it is?
Is it easier for you to have his recommendation on the staff?
Yes, if we delay the council meetings, it leaves the staff's deadlines the way they are right now. Because our finance report gets produced Thursday or Friday of last week. Probably the earliest that we can do it every month. Because by that time we've reconciled the bank statements, got our debits and credits all footed out, and
So it gives you guys a little bit more time, so it's a little bit better on your part.
yes.
If it helps out the staff too.
Yeah, it helps staff, because even this last time, we had a holiday on Friday,
Mhm.
and, that was 1 day short there for them.
Yeah. I think it would be good.
So recommend that?
I think it's better, that's fine.
Just a recommendation. If they want
Yeah.
to change it, fine. If they don't, fine.
Then we'll just leave it where we get what we can on these meetings, and if we miss some,
Okay.
we'll look at them. Maybe there is something we would go back and say, no, we would never recommend that. We want you to go back and look at that again.
Item number C, Resolution 22-21.
Resolution 22-21 is the resolution for council to approve an online auction. As soon as the resolution gets approved by council, the lady that does our online auctions, Ms. Margaret Silva, she will process. It's just a matter of pressing a button and our online auction will go live, and I think she leaves it on for 2 weeks before she ends it, and we go about moving all the items that got sold.
Mr. Vaquera, does the city do that on their own? They don't use a third party for auctioneer?
No, we do it on our own.
That's good.
She's getting pretty good at it,
Yeah.
so,
She knows her stuff, I know. She knows vehicles,
yeah.
equipment.
Did you guys get also another PDF file that was all the cars that were being sold and
Yeah, and all the
to review?
equipment.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm. Does she just people just put whatever, or?
Yes, she does it at the department level. She sends the department directors a date and time as to when the auction is gonna get submitted. So all the directors send her, she's got a form for vehicles and stuff, and if you want pictures, she'll go out there and take the pictures for you.
Are the directors' selections of equipment to be auctioned reviewed by manager or you?
by the city manager, I do believe, that all of those equipments, because he's the one that mentioned that there was 3 little S1s, S10s back here that he wanted on the auction. So,
You know, during our fixed assets approval with Mayor and Council, we had equipment that was dated back in 1970, 50 years old equipment, which some of that stuff, our city manager had his staff go and review all that listings and make sure that we did or we didn't have that anymore, that equipment, so that it wouldn't be on our books. Because I don't think that fixed asset had been upgraded or revised every time that you have an auction. They don't go back and delete it. So, you know, my suggestion was that the city of Las Vegas, should not have any equipment that's older than 2020. I mean, the year 2000. We shouldn't have equipment that's 22 years old, just being parked, or, you know, for parts, or we can't fix it and it's just sitting there. You know, it does no one no good. So this is why this next auction, and there's a lot of stuff in different buildings that needs to be gone. And like I even mentioned to our city manager, if you get a full room and just have him auction the whole room, get it done, get it out of here. Because there are some places where we do have some stuff that hasn't been touched in 10, 12 years, 15 years, and I mean, we just need to get moved on.
Sure.
And this will be our third auction
yes.
in 2 years. So, and we'll keep on having them till we clean our own house of stuff that's not being used or utilized or outdated or unsafe.
It's a good plan.
So I'll stand for a motion to approve Resolution 22-21.
So move.
Francine,
My second?
Mr. Franklin. All those signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, none. Motion passes. We'll move on to letter number D. It's a Resolution 22-22, City of Las Vegas in need of making a budget adjustment for the year 21-22 fiscal year budget, including the revenues and expenditures increases to funds 282 senior citizens in the amount of $101,825.
Resolution 2222, the senior center got funded by the county. I think the county threw in $70,000, and the rural economic development threw in the difference for 3 programs: the chores, the Connect to Me, and the Homemaker. These programs are tabled to hire people to go help the elderly do their chores, do a little bit of home cleaning, and that Connect to Me, they want to teach the elderly how to use a computer. So those are the 3 programs that money is funded for.
Questions?
So you're just moving it.
What do you mean moving it?
Oh,
No, we're funding it
right,
to start those 3 programs.
right.
Can I move to approve?
I second it.
Mr. Franklin first, Francine second. All signify by saying aye.
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 All those against? None? Majority has it, motion passes. Letter E, approval of resolution 21-33. U.S. Police Department requests to disposal of 6 police vehicles. Decided to sell vehicles in the auction of obsolete city assets on the online auction.
This resolution was brought up to council and approved back in July of 21. Back in the day, the police would crush their cars, and at the same time, they were planning on stuffing one of those cars with ballistic vests that were outdated and tasers that were obsolete, and then get them all crushed. When the change of council, city managers, they decided not to go that route. They wanted to auction off the 6 police cars instead of crushing them. So I had to get this resolution repealed so that they could put those 6 cars in the auction instead of crushing them. And they're gonna find a different way to destroy the ballistic vests and the tasers. I believe the police has the corresponding resolution coming up this Wednesday also for those 6 cars. Instead of getting crushed, they're gonna go to the auction.
Again, you guys got a listing, it's a 2011, 2013, 13, 9, 2014, and 2010 vehicle. They're all from 84,000 miles up to 227,000 miles. One of them's unknown because the engine was blown on it. Now, this resolution, does that include the 60,
Ballistic vests?
yeah, and the tasers?
Uh,
Or is that just what's included?
That was just part of the resolution that I'm repealing. The police department has to, I think the chief is gonna mention how he found or what way he's gonna get rid of the ballistic vest and the tasers, since they're not gonna be able to pile them in the car and crush them anymore.
So, Mr. McKay, just to clarify, this is just a motion, I mean, our motion, your resolution is to repeal.
Yes.
Reverse, okay.
Higher one.
So that you can make another plan to get rid of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but the plan is to sell them at the auction, because they can't destroy them anymore. That's what I understand.
The ballistic vest?
No,
The cars?
The police cars.
Yes,
Yeah, the police cars are to dispose,
yes.
yeah. And decided to sell them in the auction
Mhm.
instead, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the vest and I guess the vest and the
Tasers?
tasers, those ones, the chief still has to figure out how he's gonna
Eliminate those?
eliminate those from his inventory.
Yeah.
But this resolution says that they will have the vehicles hauled off and crushed.
Yeah.
This
that's-
resolution does, so we're not passing one that puts them in the auction. Are they included in the previous auction list?
No, they are, the chief is gonna bring up this resolution this Wednesday for the 6 cars to go to the auction. The first step was me repealing my resolution so that the chief could make his own resolution to sell those cars in the auction.
we're just looking at repealing 21-33, correct?
Yes.
There is no resolution here to put them in the auction yet.
No.
So I'd go ahead and move to approve abandonment or reversal of Resolution 2133.
Repeal or rescind?
Yeah, repeal or rescind, yeah.
Okay.
A second.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none. Motion passes. The last item on the agenda is F, letter F, March finance report. Actually, it's not the last item.
No.
Second page. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Finance report for March 2022, it should be 75% of the year. The revenues on the general fund are at 81%, the expenditures are at 53%. We're showing a surplus of $1,147,518. The enterprise fund, revenues of 75%, expenditures of 60%, surplus of $1,488,589. The rec department shows revenues at 44%, expenditures of 41%, a surplus of $112,860. Lodgers tax has revenues at 83%, expenditures at 55%, with a surplus of $114,143. And you got, was it January and February's there for reference?
I sort of feel like you have like a bottleneck happening in June when everybody starts spending between now and June. Between March and June, like everybody's like, okay, the budget's almost over, and then everybody starts spending.
In July is when we have the bottleneck.
Do you? Ours is June because ours ends.
Everybody trying to spend the money. We're not that rich.
Well, neither are
We
we.
get-
But your fiscal year is June 30th though, right?
Yeah.
See, ours is too, and everybody starts like,
Yeah.
they send it out. Okay, we're getting real close, turn in your stuff.
We send a cutoff to the departments, like probably mid-May. Tell them
You're nice.
your stuff needs to get in and get paid by June 30th. If not, we'll charge it to next fiscal year, and it'll be your problem.
I'm just like, I'm closing it.
So how are you on the next year's budget hearings and proposals and requests and so?
We've got probably 3 or 4 departments that have not sat down with us to discuss the budgets. But the biggest one there is the community development. And the holdup on that is that we do not have a director for community development. It is the city manager, and trying to sit him down to discuss community development budget is like pulling teeth.
Oh, budget's like teeth.
Mr. Chairman, I know it's not on the agenda. It's, community development gets a black eye for us. I've had a couple of people complain about lot splits and projects, and now to see that they don't even get the budget information to Mr. Baqueta to present, it's something I hope you guys can look at the council level and say, that's how we grow our city, is community development. And I know of surveyors that say, no, they won't do a survey for the city, a lot split for the city, because it sits there for months. We had one that took 4 months to get through the community development. So anyway, I think that ought to be a priority myself, as far as we need that department staffed with good people and be responsive to the community's needs. Do you interact with them at all,
Guys having a
Francina?
hard time. Well, I know everybody's having a hard time finding people to hire, and qualified people. It's what I'm saying. He wants to work, and there's just like, nobody's here in town. There really isn't. And bringing outside people in, nobody wants to.
They don't want to come to Vegas, huh?
Yeah. So it's hard to bring in people, and especially people that are qualified for certain jobs. It's kind of hard. So you guys are having a hard time finding the director, I understand. So. it's
Well,
not
thank
easy.
you, Francine. It's like your air conditioner, Mr. Franklin. You know, it's the same thing with our economic development director. It's just hard to find.
36 weeks.
Well, we're going on, what, 4 months?
Mhm.
Something like that.
No applicants or none?
Without
No,
an
we've
economic
had some
development
No
interviews.
director.
qualified applicants?
No qualified.
But again, you see, part of those audit findings are the reasoning we're in the dilemma that we're in. The city manager has been trying, and mayor and council have been giving direction to the city manager to fill in that position ASAP. They had some interviews done, and I guess, I'm not sure what happened to that, but apparently, I don't know if they were qualified or not qualified. But I think that process is still going through, and that position, I guess, is still open, and that's where we're at. But I personally, myself, have, everywhere I go to different municipalities, different meetings, different organizations that I attend and so forth, political rallies and so forth, I've been pushing and spreading out the word that we need somebody out here. I guess nobody wants to come to Vegas in a sense, move their families and so forth. So I think our city manager's looking at a couple of people this last week. So we're working on it, but it's hard to find somebody that's going to be qualified for that position, and somebody that's going to move this city forward. Mayor and council are trying to maybe even going as far as putting out the marketing of Las Vegas on the block, and then some private firm take over that instead. Of course, there would be direction from mayor, council, and city manager. But, we're looking at different options. But, yeah, as far as budget-wise, I don't think, economic development is suffering from any kind of budget funding. Because last year's budget, our previous city manager put in quite a money in there.
Mhm.
But what I'm more focused on with this budget is that we have funding for mayor and council for attending any conferences or anything that they might want to attend or learn more about. for staffing, training, employees training. Last year's budget was very minimal on those areas. And those were a few of the areas that I would like to see if we could address our new budget, this coming year's budget. All our insurances are up to date, Senor? City government?
We are lacking payment for FY '21 and FY '22, which is 1.7 million.
And why is that for 21?
For '21, the self-insurance funds, they had staffing issues and they never billed us. But they
They
did.
never billed us?
They never billed us, and they're billing us now. They did give us a 50% discount in '21 because of the COVID. So we only owed, I think it was 400 and some thousand in '21.
And 22, when does that come due? In July?
June 30th.
June 30th?
But you said we owe 1.7 million for
That's the-
2021, or that's the total?
No, that's the total for '21, '22.
Don't we have like a check and balance system or just like an automatic light bulb that turns on that we gotta pay that insurance every year?
Checks and balances, the bill goes to risk management, which is housed in HR. And they're the ones that submit the requisition to us for payment. But if the self-insurance fund doesn't bill them, they never process the requisition forward. And self-insurance funds, they got all new staff, so.
Another concern that I had, Mr. Vaqueras, in this budget, we're not seeing any revenues from the housing anymore, right?
No.
And all we're doing is seeing the payment that goes out right now.
Yes, we do have a monthly transfer. I think it adds up to the 150,000 that we pay every year to the housing,
Every year or every month?
every year,
Every year, 150,000.
yes, on June 30th.
And other than that, everything else has been depleted from our records,
Yes,
assets and
all their
works.
fixed assets have been cleaned off and their cash was moved to them.
So that property, vacant property on Mills, is that HUD's? Was that part of the deal? The vacant property over at Mills Avenue, across from Brigard?
I'd have to double check, but yes, I do believe it was part of their assets that we moved over to them.
Because someone told me that HUD wasn't claiming it for some reason. And that HUD hadn't been, I guess they haven't been paying taxes on that either. So I don't know if they're exempt from paying taxes or.
Let me do the research on that.
Yeah, please. Yeah, find out, because I don't want it coming back to us saying maybe it still belongs to the city or not. But I thought it went with the whole shebang. I thought it was all.
All their assets that went with them.
Yeah.
just so I'm clear, Jesus, that 440,000 we owe for last June. And we finished our budget year, we had surpluses,
Uh-huh.
but we didn't roll those expenses off the books, right? We still have, I mean, that's still there as a liability, a budgeted number. The money for that insurance was budgeted and it's still sitting in the account. So that when we pay that, we're not gonna be taking it out of fiscal '22, or,
No, we did not leave the budget in there. We're gonna have to take it out of FY '22. So that is,
so we spent it as part of our
Well,
surplus. We
well,
committed it.
yeah, we
yeah,
didn't-
okay.
we
We saw
didn't-
that surplus.
we haven't spent it, but it got rolled up into the surplus that was,
Carryover.
yeah. But the FY '22 budget has to pay the whole 1.3 million.
Well, that's not good. Luckily, you have a good surplus this year.
Mm-hmm.
So will you have to make a resolution to put that in as an expenditure for this year when we get the bill?
HR, like I said, it was risk management runs through HR.
Right.
HR is talking to the self-insurance fund and trying to work out a payment plan so we can pay whatever we can pay this year and then budget the rest into FY '23.
When do they usually bill you?
If the staffing issues have not occurred at Self-Reliance, they would have sent us a bill April, May for payment. So they just sent us the one for the 1.3 million. That's when we were like, oops, we need to come up with that money somehow.
They must have had a really major staff turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And in governmental accounting, you don't accrue that expense every month and see that accrual sitting there as a liability saying, oh, we haven't paid this yet. That's
No.
not how fund accounting works.
No, we, our budget sits there till you pay it, and if you don't pay it, it rolls up to fund balance or rolls down to fund balance at the end of the year. And, if you treat your fund balance and you decide to spend your surplus, you either go to the council and tell them, hey, we need some money back, or
Yeah.
come up with it next fiscal year.
So you're saying this money wasn't budgeted? So that insurance for last year?
It was budgeted,
Yeah.
but when the books were closed, it rolled down into your fund balance. And then when we did the surplus for the CARES and the,
So this 1.147 is really zero? That's what you're telling me, end of the day? The
Which one?
surplus here.
Well, it should just have
no,
400,000.
the 400,000
Yeah.
443 is out of there.
So.
is out of there.
So nobody remembered it, like, because I know like our risk, I look for it every July.
Uh-huh.
So that's like, I'm waiting for it every July. So nobody was waiting in April.
No.
See, this is the same problem that we had 2 months ago, right? With the funding for the employees' insurances, that they weren't being deducted. The money was there, but they weren't being deducted from the state. Is that correct? The insurance benefits and benefits and insurances that the city pays, the portion the city pays.
Mm-hmm.
Those weren't being deducted, or we hadn't been paying for them in Santa Fe. That was my understanding.
I'm not aware of any issues with the insurances not getting paid,
The benefits of the employees,
the health insurance and, or retirement.
the benefits that they get, like health insurance and the portion that the city pays,
Uh-huh.
that normally is deducted off the city right away.
Yes.
And I guess it hadn't been deducted for some time. But the money was there. No? Yeah, I'll just check
Not.
into it. I'll just check into it.
Okay.
Oh. Well, I still see that it's gonna be an issue. And I guess we'll have to discuss it with our city manager and make the proper adjustments and see what, I didn't know we were trying to get payments or ask the insurance if we could do payments on it. But we'll see what it turns out to be. Anything else on this report, Mr. Vaqueras, that you might be aware of?
No, sir?
Any new monies that are coming in this next year? Besides the, what is it, is it 1.6 million in care? Or something like that?
Or the other half of our ARPA funds?
Yeah.
1.5?
No. Everything that we got from the legislature got drafted?
No, it's not drafted. We are spending it first and then we have to draw it down.
So are we spending any of it?
Yes. I know for sure we are already ordered the dump truck for
Okay.
Public Works.
9 months out.
Yeah. So,
And then we got the Hannah lighting coming in too, from last year's
Okay.
funding.
okay.
I don't know what other money you got from the legislature this year that you're spending.
They're doing improvements on Rodriguez Park as we speak,
Yeah.
as far as fencing it in and getting it all secured.
Yeah. Any other questions on the budget? Nancy? Come on, Dinah would ask a couple more.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Are we gonna
She's
get
got a
to-
magnifying glass.
Oh, I know. Are we gonna get to see when you guys are done?
So with that, Mr. Vaqueras, I'll ask for a motion to approve letter F, March finance report. So move, Francine. Is there a
So
second?
move.
I would like her to accept an amendment that I would like to see that motion state that we recommend approval of the finance report, but that we really want to get that's a significant amount, that 440,000 needs to be reflected in our budget somehow, our current budget, so that we're not looking at a surplus saying, oh, well, we have a great surplus. Well, we just lost 440,000.
That's true.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to be making an adjustment, Mr. Vaqueras,
Yes.
and that, I imagine that's at our next city council meeting?
I'm talking with the HR director to see what kind of payment plan she can get approved by the Self-Reliance Foundation to let us pay as much as we can this year and then pay the rest in FY '23.
And they don't take no blame for it?
All they told us was the turnover in staffing and, because they lost everybody from the director on down.
Yeah, and I have issues with this because, if my insurance company don't send me a bill, you know what, I'm gonna go check. How come they didn't send me a bill? So it's kind of a two-way street there, especially when we're responsible for our citizens' monies, tax dollars. I mean, I think that it's, I've never been a finance director, but I would say that, or an HR director, but I would say that, somebody needed to have checked into it to see,
And I
to
can
see what
see-
happened and how come we're not getting billed. Because, and I asked them during the city council meetings, why such a big surplus? Back about 4 months ago, 3-4 months ago, I asked, well, why are we getting so much surplus? And I even asked about lodger's tax, because lodger's tax, it seems like it never goes low. It seems like it's always up there. And even through the pandemic, we never saw lodger's tax go down. But on this budget, I can see why we were always, like $500,000 or, on top of it. But, because normally by, January, February, you kind of start feeling it, where either start cutting spending or, put on the brake and this year, we never put the brake on anything, it seems like. We've just gone forward with business. But, okay, well,
So with that, I'd second the motion to approve.
okay. Is that amendment on there? That addition? So that's homework there, Mr. Vaqueras. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None?
And just one more thing on that, I can understand why HR would be watching our benefits insurances, our pension, and, but I'm not sure it makes sense for them to be handling our
Insurance.
general
Our risk
insurance.
management?
Self-insured fund.
The risk management, yeah.
I would think, that's probably part of the problem. They got so many things to do in HR. Maybe that would be something
Well,
going forward.
I think most of the cases are probably because of employees, right?
Lawsuits and stuff go
Lawsuits and so
through risk
forth,
management.
HR issues.
What else does the risk management,
The insurance on our vehicles, our tort claims,
and it goes through HR?
Yeah,
well, risk management.
yeah.
See, risk management goes out of finance in our area. That's why
At Luna.
Yeah, that's why I watch out for the bill in July. And I take care of the bill in July, and then all the claims and everything else goes through CFO's office. Yeah.
Okay.
March AP check listing.
I didn't see anything pop out, did you?
No, I didn't look at it actually. to tell you
Didn't
the
see
truth.
anything different that you guys don't do all the time. I don't know if Dinah would have, but I didn't see anything different.
I'm still having troubles at our level whether we want to go through those checks.
Sometimes you see something different, but nothing that they don't do every month. I didn't see anything different.
Letter H, resolution 2216.
2216 resolution, that is where the topic at the last Wednesday's council meeting, that's where the topic about the finance meeting, the finance committee approving everything came from. Streets, Public Works, they are asking for approval to accept a grant, and the grant requires a 5% match. The 5% of the match is almost $22,000. And the mayor asked, where's that $22,000 coming from? So there's going to be a new process involved. When in the past, when anybody went after a grant, they would go after it and not worry about the city's match portion of it until they actually landed the grant, and then they would scramble and try to come up with the match. Now they're going to have to come through finance first and ask us to see if we can afford the match before they go for the grant. This one is not that big of an issue, but we do have 2 more grants that are, I think, 130, 140,000 is our share of the match. So those will be coming up on our next finance committee meeting. Those grants that are coming in and require that large of a match.
Mr. Vaqueras, in general, most of the matching funds for any grant come out of the general fund, right?
Yes.
So what's going to be the difference? Now that this committee is going to decide if there's monies there, and are you going to do another bar or another
A bar every
line
time that
item
we need
just
to.
to accommodate that?
Yes, I think that's going to be what's going to require us to do a bar for every.
Yeah, and then once that's approved through the finance committee and the council, then that money is already set aside. So when the funding comes in, it don't really have to be approved anymore.
No.
These matches, are there like something you plan for, or is it just savings?
It's hit and miss because you're required to match, but then you can go for a waiver, and the majority of the time they'll give you the waiver. So, but in the process of applying for the grant, you got to show a match because the application requires a match.
You know, I don't agree with this because, you know, where are you going to get $500,000 for $20,000 that you put in?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the other one is
even if you don't have $21,000 in the budget in the general fund appropriated, still you're getting $500,000. You're going to find that $21,000 somewhere. Where you got to cut anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I don't know. It's only 5%.
You mean as far as having a resolution to approve, making it that formal, or?
Yeah. To me, it don't make, on something like this, it doesn't make no sense to me. Now, I could see if he would indicate, well, any grant that's beyond 30% that we gotta put in, our share, something like that, yeah. But these other grants that are 5, 10, or at no cost percent, I mean, it don't make no sense to. It is what it is. But this item just already passed through the mayor and council. And
It already did.
Yeah,
it
that
already
was
did. So,
last Wednesday.
we don't have to worry about it, but this was more of a, just let you guys know. Any other questions, concerns? The city is moving forward with trying to wrap up and finish up the Bridge Street area. They're working with that Cristone Circle Park up there. They're finishing up that other street up in Romero Street. Top of the tank.
Salazar.
Top of the hill, Romero Street. Over by the Rodriguez Park. And also, they're starting to install, tomorrow, I guess they'll start installing the bases for the lighting at Hanna Park. And that influent water project is starting up pretty soon too.
Is part of it already going up, the old Highway 85 road? Behind, this side of the city recreation center? I noticed they're putting in that purple pipe and going up that road. New Image Construction is laying pipe. I thought that's what that effluent line was, where it's going.
Yeah, I think the front line, yeah, it's right up behind I believe it's right behind the rec center on that alleyway where it's at, and
That's
from
the
there
old Highway 85.
Yeah,
Went
from
through
there they're gonna take it up.
I think they've got it all the way up to Pino's now.
Yeah,
From there, I don't know where they're gonna go.
they're going up Mountain View Drive.
Are they? Oh, no.
Yeah, they're not gonna, they're gonna go underneath, and they're gonna go on the outside of the sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not gonna tear up the
They're
street.
gonna tear up the brand new paint job.
We fought for that road for 5 years. We fought for that road.
And then they're gonna go to Los Niños and then up on Liche. And it'll be a joint project with construction going on Liche
Oh, that'd be good.
to run it
Yeah.
through there at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Francine, any questions, comments?
Baseball and softball field, I haven't been up there, has things been going, or
Where's that?
Rodriguez Park?
Rodriguez
Anything?
Park? I haven't been up there. Have things-
They're going full speed.
Are they?
with,
Is it under
with-
construction now, or is it
the
still
kids.
design?
They're still in design, but we are spending some of the money on securing the park. There's a lot of people that were going in there by night and still in the bleachers and for aluminum. And we had people going in there to play and practice after hours and so forth through the backside and so forth.
Yeah.
So the first thing we want to do is secure it with a good fencing. It has nice fencing on the front, but on the sides and in the back, it's wide open, barbed wire. We've got jersey barriers and boulders and ditches and stuff like that, and it's not really too safe. So there is a contractor out there working on the fencing itself. But yeah, it is on the stages.
How long again was it gonna take? I can't remember what we said.
How long are they gonna take?
Yeah, I can't remember what we said.
That's gonna be like a 3 or 4 phase project, and it all depends on how money comes in. We got the first 3.2 million, and that's for planning, designing, security, and see how far, and the video tape on it that they had to do, aerial video, and that kind of stuff. So we'll see how far that money goes, and then, see what we get this year, because we lobbied for it, for the governor's purse, but I don't know if it's gonna come through economic development funding or if we're gonna get any. So that's where we're at.
I'm looking at Westfield's, they're almost done.
Somebody tried to steal one of those rolls of,
I know.
AstroTurf.
That's crazy. Boy,
A roller?
the big rolls of turf,
Yeah,
Oh,
they had them out there?
and they drug them all the way down, one roll all the way down to the river and tried to steal it.
wow.
But I think they opened it and saw that it was the brown for the infield, and that's why they either decided, no, they
Oh,
wanted
don't
green,
want it, they want it.
green for their yard or something, but you're right, they'll steal anything.
Cat salad, if it's brown, it looks like dirt.
Yeah.
I tell you, it takes all kinds. Our next meeting is scheduled for May the 16th of 2022, 2 p.m. Call for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, none. Meeting's over at